This is adapted from Ericksonian Psychotherapy by Jeff Zeig. Jeff Zeig's a good friend. He's in Phoenix.
So first, clearly define the problem. The problem is be clearly defined in your mind before you assign the task. Discussion about the problem with the client may also be appropriate so that the definition may be made. Decide on the symptom, its structure and process, and how the symptom interferes with the client's performance.
Number two, the client must be committed to getting over the problem. So for a task to work, the client must be enrolled in the process, and it's often not enough to ask. The client will probably also need to be motivated to do the task. The motivation to overcome the problem is generally not there at the time when the timeline therapy master practitioner decides there is a task necessary. The task is also often unpleasant. To generate the commitment to the client, the master practitioner should emphasize the gravity of the problem, recount the failed attempts the client has had to get beyond it, if he has, and to make the task a challenge that the client's up to facing and emphasize the task as a standard procedure and is usually successful. One motivation is the client may be willing to go through an ordeal to prove the master practitioner wrong. Often clients must be double-binded to perform the task. One way is to say the task is guaranteed to work if the client carries it out, but the client cannot be told the task until she agrees to do it. Remember that in most cases, the task is successful in relationship to the timeline therapy master practitioner.
Now we're at the point where you design the tasking. The task must be designed. This could take a moment or maybe thought out well in advance. Often it's a good idea to do it with the client, since client involvement often creates greater compliance. Generally, a rule of thumb is that the task should be severe enough to overcome the problem or the symptom. It must also be something that the client can and will do and will accept. It's important the task is agreeable in terms of its decency, propriety, and generally accepted behavior. It should have a beginning and an end, and that is clear. From a behavioral point of view, the task should be good for them, so they do not end up punishing themselves in an unfortunate way.
The task must be given, you must explain it clearly. It must be given with clear, precise reasoning and description of the behavior in the task. The task should be described without ambiguity. Generally, the task should be something which is harder on the client than the problem or the symptom. If it is, the problem will generally disappear.
Now, get the client's commitment. If the master practitioner hasn't already, the client's commitment to the task should be gotten, and the task should be done each time it was agreed upon.
One of the things that we suggest that you say is, I have a task which is guaranteed to solve this problem. I have had clients for whom this task solved this problem in the past, but I'm not going to tell you what the task is. By the way, don't ever tell the client the task unless they agree to do it up front. Don't tell them the task until you get their agreement to do it. That binds them into doing the task, yeah?
And number 6, tasking may need to continue until the problem is resolved. Remember that the task assigned may need to continue until the problem or symptom is resolved. Hopefully the problem will be resolved before the end of the coaching session.
Or the therapy session.
If not, it's not unusual for some tasks to continue forever. Journaling, for instance, for food addictions or for cigarette addictions are very good to continue forever because they still bring into clients' consciousness what's going on with them on a daily basis.
I had one client with a gambling addiction. We were doing business coaching. He had a gambling addiction. He got rid of his gambling addiction just through the journaling. Yeah, because it brought to consciousness. It brought to consciousness things that were out of consciousness. Welcome back. You guys ready for this? Yes. This process is a fun process. It's called logical levels of therapy. And it's neither logical, nor is it therapeutic. Before we get there, I wanted to talk about one other thing. But we're going to be on page 34 when we start, so it's easier probably to turn to page 34 at this point in your notebook.
Just briefly, you might have seen this being behind us all along. A client is a client. And there are some important conditions. There are some important conditions that have to be present in order for you to have a coaching situation with a client.
I think, by the way, and we talk about this both in our timeline therapy practitioner and our timeline therapy master practitioner. We talk about it pretty much every time we do a training at the practitioner or master practitioner level.
Let us start by saying that anything that doesn't fulfill this criteria
is bar talk.
Is not a coaching situation where you're the coach.
Not the composer.
And the client's the client.
Not the composer.
Bar talk.
Have you ever been out at a bar? And, I mean, come on, this is Australia. Have you guys ever been out at a bar? Drinking a few beers.
And having a very interesting chat with somebody.
No. Drinking a few VBs.
Oh.
Mate.
No.
Come on, I know some of you are from Victoria. It's
So-
bad, you know, it's not good to not drink the home beer. Yeah.
Some of us are not.
So anyway, you're out with your buddies, right? And you're drinking a beer. You wouldn't be drinking it in this kind of glass, but I don't have a mug there. So anyway, drinking a few beers, and your guy goes, "Hey, we're going to change the world."
By the way, what is your timeline? What is your timeline?
Nah, forget about it. My timeline. I don't have a timeline. What are you kidding? and then they email me and they go, "I couldn't find this guy's timeline." And the first thing I'm going to ask is, was he a client? And then they go, no, I was trying to elicit his timeline. We were out at the bar for a couple of beers.
That doesn't work. That just doesn't work.
No. That really doesn't work. Because he's going to, if you make him tell you where his timeline is, he's going to punish you for it.
If you make him, yes. Emphasis on make him.
So you go like this. Come on. Let me
I
tell
know
you where
you
your
have a
timeline is.
timeline.
And he goes,
Everybody has a timeline.
Let me just drink my beer in peace. Yeah, or we could debate about, you know, the politics of it, the global warming, and did the budget run over, and how much who are we electing, for crying out loud?
But that's not a client-coach situation.
No.
So first of all, the client has to ask.
First thing is the client has to ask. And by the way, so like we've had husbands call us for wives, wives call us for husbands. And the wife will say, "My husband wants therapy with you," and we're thinking like,
Where is the husband?
where's the husband?
I mean, if the husband wants therapy, why is not the husband asking?
And we had one a wife who said, "Well, my husband, you know, is pretty busy." Yeah, well, he's going to have to call us if he wants an appointment. Yeah, because the first thing is the client has to ask, and if the client doesn't ask and somebody else asks for it, I had one client come to me, and I said, "Why are you here?" He said, "My wife thought it would be a good idea." I said, "Yeah, but why are you here?" "Well," he said, I thought I'd please her." I said, "Yeah, but why are you here?"
For you.
He said, "Well, no reason really." And I said, "Well, here are some of my theories." I said, "What do you think?" He said, "I don't agree with them at all."
So first of all, what would you do with a client that has no reason
To be there.
to be there?
Nothing.
The answer is nothing.
Look. It's the same cause and effect thing. If you're here for your wife, why are you here? I'm here to please her. Well, shoot, have her come and see us. You know, don't sit there and go, you know, I'm doing this for my wife, because if you're solving it for your wife, where's your wife? Or husband or partner, business partner. Second thing is the client has to compensate you.
Somehow.
What does that mean? Money.
Pay you.
In many cases, money. Well, in terms of coaching, we're talking about money. I mean, you know, we're all nice people, and we'd like to do nice things.
Sure.
But I think you should be compensated.
For your work.
Here's one of the things I noticed. The more I charged, the better my results were. Don't you think that's just funny? When I charged $35 an hour, I got $35 an hour kind of results. Think about this for just a second. You ready? Are you thinking? Yeah? You know what we can do with timeline therapy? Do you know what we can do with time? In the history of mankind, there has not been a technique that allows you to let go of negative emotions in 10 minutes for every major negative emotion anywhere in the history of the world. There hasn't been. I don't know if you understand what that means. I didn't understand what it means until somebody talked to me about it. He said, "Wake up, Tat." I was like, "Huh? I'm awake, pretty much." I think. And he said, in the history of the world, there hasn't been a technique like this. Think about that for a moment. There hasn't been a technique like this in the history of the world. So we can assist a client in letting go of negative emotions. Like, what's it like for a client who has anger?
And bothers him, and he can't perform because of that anger.
Or even a client who had to go to court because of his anger and then go to anger management classes, which in the States they have to do. Now that I'm angry. Oh, now I'm in charge of it. Yeah, I'm really angry.
And anger stands, you know, in between him and the possible results or success he could have in life.
What's it like to get rid of the anger? What's it worth to him to get rid of the anger? Is it like $35 an hour? No, I think about it for a minute. $35 an hour? Well, what's it worth? What's it worth?
So the client must compensate you.
What's it worth to double his income? What's it worth to double his income? I think when you're coaching, you ought to legitimately charge a client as much as it will cause you to have respect. Now, if I say to you I'm charging $35 an hour, you're not charging enough. So what does a good lawyer charge in your town? A lawyer will do couple coaching, and he won't guarantee that they'll stay together. In fact, what will he guarantee? Will he guarantee you'll win? No, he'll guarantee you get a divorce. Yeah, I mean, if that's what you want, great. He'll guarantee that. But will he guarantee that you end up with half the money or not? No, whether you're the man or the woman. So the lawyer won't guarantee anything. So at least what we do is we guarantee. And I think you should charge, and I think you should also look like, when you go and see someone doing coaching, and especially if you're doing timeline therapy, I think you ought to look like what a good lawyer in your town would look like. I'm talking about the kind of clothes you wear. Rather than wearing Birkenstocks and ripped jeans, unless you're up in the Gold Coast.
No, not anymore.
Oh, not anymore. Yeah, that's over. Is that
No.
over?
No,
Oh, it's over.
not even there.
It's
if
over.
you go in businesses,
Yeah, I think you ought to wear a suit. Okay,
next is the client has to have an investment.
and that's what we mean by tasks and ordeals. If the client's not paying you money, he at least has to have an investment.
See, if a client who doesn't have an investment in letting go of the problem, if there is no investment, investment meaning why would I let go of this problem? Investment also equals motivation. Being motivated to let go of the problem. If the client doesn't have the motivation, the client won't let go of the problem. And by the way, I hope you realize by now that you can't force a client to let go of a problem.
No.
The client will choose to let go of the problem. You're just the facilitator. That's all you are as a coach. And then
finally,
the client must surrender to the coaching process.
what is the process? The client has to surrender to the coaching process.
Which means somebody is the coach
Which means you're the coach and the client is the client.
and the client is the client.
I've had some clients who called me on the phone to try to tell me what to do.
We had clients that actually were trained in NLP by us or by somebody else. And they came to us and said to us, I think you should do a switch pattern and a parts integration with me. And then I think at the end we should do also some anchoring.
That's not a client who surrenders. That's the client who's in charge of the process. By the way, the client can be in charge of the process, but he needs to know that in that case, he's not in charge. I had a very large, substantial businessman fly in from Hong Kong. And at one point, I said, I think we need to go here. And he goes, don't go there. I said, yeah, but everything you told me is related to this. He says, I don't want to deal with that right now. So he's taking over the content of the therapy. So I said, okay, so if we don't want to deal with that right now, then I said, any guarantees that we've had are off. Because you're choosing not to tackle something or work on something that I'm suggesting we need to work on. Then that's fine with me, as long as you understand that if I can't do the therapy the way I want to, then you're not going to have a guarantee. And I think it's important for you to say that.
Absolutely.
We've said that with clients. Yeah?
Now, that being said, let's turn to page 34.
Now we're going to assume you have a therapeutic or a coaching relationship, that you have a relationship with the client where the client's doing all these things. And this is a fun process to start off. This is the first exercise we're going to do.
Sometimes, even if you let go of the negative emotions, you may have to destroy the strategy the client used to have for producing that negative emotion, or for going back over and over again in the same state, negative state, that the client used to.
This logical levels of therapy actually takes out the strategy that the client has for producing a behavior or for producing a state which is unwelcome or unwanted.
We had also a question, how do you deal with negative anchoring when you do timeline therapy? Timeline therapy in and of itself lets go of all the negative emotions and also the negative anchoring then from the past, but you may also have to do this process for absolutely scrambling the strategy the client may have in place for producing those negative emotions. And the process begins at the bottom of page 34.
Yeah, unfortunately, or fortunately,
We start at the bottom and we work our way.
this diagram starts from the bottom and goes up.
So the client
So-
comes with a presenting problem.
Client comes in with a presenting problem. For example, let's say the client says to you, I can't make phone calls. Now, you're going to use the meta model. He's a telephone salesperson. He says, I can't make phone calls. You're going to use the meta model, but not except in understanding the problem. So you're going to think of the problem as he gives it to you. I can't make phone calls.
Now, remember when we said that when the client tells you, I can't, well, and
What
whenever
does
you
that
hear a
mean?
negation,
Remember we said that?
it's not a vacuum in client's brain.
Well, there may be. But in the case of when he says,
I can't do X means that the client can do the process of not
doing
doing
something else.
something else.
So a client who says, I can't make phone calls, is doing something inside his head.
So what's the client doing instead of making phone calls? Something else.
We don't know yet. But the first thing to do is to look at the meta model patterns and notice that there's a modal operator of impossibility.
Can't.
Can't. So anytime we hear the modal operator of impossibility, can't, we're going to ask ourselves, well, what's he doing instead? Now, when he says, I can't make phone calls, there's an implied something there. What do you think's implied? Because.
I can't make phone calls. Wouldn't you be tempted to ask why not? And he would say because, and something follows.
So that's a question that you would use the the meta model to find out. You'd probably want to find out what prevents him from making phone calls. Yeah? Now, if you understand the problem totally and completely, or you feel like there's nothing missing, then the presenting problem is sufficient. And just look at the cause and effect.
Yeah.
The issue, look at the cause and effect, listen for the modal operators that are present, the modal operators of impossibility in this case. Listen for the cause and effect. I can't make phone calls. One question I might ask is, if I don't have the cause and effect, I might ask because. I might say, because? Then using the meta model, I've got the pattern. I've identified the two major patterns in that sentence, which are modal operator of impossibility and cause and effect.
Cause and effect.
Good.
Exactly.
Then I'm going to go right up to number 3.
Now, number 3 has some questions there that actually will bring out the client associated, and will bring out the strategy, and also mind reads and the temporal aspect. The questions are, how do you do it? How do I do what? How do you do it? How do you do not making phone calls?
How do you do How do you do the process of not making phone calls?
So we're not looking for the content for the sake of the content. We're looking for the process, which is the strategy. How do you do this process of not making phone calls?
Yeah, when you sit at the desk, you've got the phone in front of you, you don't pick it up and dial. How do you do that? Yeah? How do you do that process? Yeah? And so, how do you do it?
Then when do you do it handles the temporal aspect.
Oh, by the way, you could also ask, when do you not do it?
Exactly. Are there any times when the client doesn't not make phone calls?
Yeah. Are there any times when the client... So when don't you not make phone calls? Or when do you not make phone calls? When do you do it?
I mean, we
when do you
assume
not
that the
do
client
it?
will make some phone calls, because otherwise that process would have gotten him fired already. So there are times when the client does make phone calls, but there are times when the client doesn't make phone calls.
This, by the way, is how we think of this, yeah, as we do this process. This is our thinking.
And then how do you know it's time to do it?
Yeah.
Which gives us what? Do you remember what's the question from?
What a great question.
How do you know it's time to? Trigger. It gives us the trigger. It's like the question in swish pattern.
Swish
yeah?
pattern. How do you know it's time to do it?
That's
Is the
the-
front end of swish pattern.
That's the question that determines the beginning of the behavior.
So it gets the beginning of the behavior. How do I know it's time to do what? How do you know it's time to not make phone calls? These are all 3 questions you could ask. On the right-hand side, the questions, it's
First of all, it associates the client.
It's going to associate the client. Why? Because the client is saying, well, you say, how do you do it? If the client understands the question, he'll answer it. He'll say, well, I do this, I do this, I do this. If he doesn't understand the question, he'll go, what do you mean, how do I do it? You say, how do you do the process of not making phone calls?
Right.
He says, well, first I do this. First I do this. Now, this client that I had, I said, how do you, presenting problem, I can't make phone calls. I said, because. He said, because I can't imagine someone wanting to talk to me. Yeah, now we get to how do you do it. So I said, how do you do that? Now, what would we guess he's doing? When he says, I can't imagine someone wanting to talk to me, he's doing the process of not imagining someone wanting to talk to him, or he's doing the process of imagining someone not wanting to talk to him. Do you see how all the quantum linguistics training is useful at this point? Because it allows you to consider what he's thinking by moving the not around easily. So he's got to be doing something in his head which is related to the client not wanting to talk to him.
And you're going to elicit the strategy. Because he's going to tell you, well, when he says, I can't imagine somebody wanting to talk to me, it's imagining presupposes already that he's got some form of internal representation inside his head, which could imply pictures, sounds, feelings. As long as we have picture, sounds, feeling, maybe taste and smells, we have a possible strategy there. All we need to find is the steps. What's the order and sequence of the strategy?
Remember, the logical levels of therapy is for the purpose of scrambling the strategy.
So we need to find out, first of all, the strategy.
And we're using logical levels. Not, by the way, not Robert Dilts's logical levels, yeah? But logical levels of therapy. We're using logical levels of therapy to scramble the strategy. So how do you do it? So this client said, well, first I make a picture of people not wanting to talk to me. It took more talk than that to get to it, but that's essentially what he said. I said, good, what's the next thing? He said, well, then I say to myself, I don't think they want to talk to me. And then what? And he said, then I feel bad. And I said, so is that enough? This is, by the way, how do you do it? This is all, we're still in how do you do it. And when he's telling us his strategy, he's associated. Because he says, I do this, I do this, I do this. Listen for association. Step number 3 needs to be associated.
Now watch. What's happening at number 4? All of a sudden, you say to them, now teach me how to do it, because I'm from a temporary agency, and I want to fill in for you for the day.
I want to fill in for you for a day, and I want to have your problem.
Now, teach me how to do it. Now, what's happening in the process of the client teaching you how to do it?
What does he say?
So you do this.
Well, you make a picture.
You do that. Dissociating, exactly.
Yeah, he's dissociated.
All of a sudden,
you do
it dissociates
this,
the client.
He dissociates. You do this, you do this, you do this. Now, as he does it, you do step number 5. And here's what you do. As he explains the strategy to you. Now, you've got the strategy. You wrote it down, whatever the strategy is. You wrote down the strategy. So in this case, simple V, picture of them not wanting to talk to him. Auditory, he says to himself, probably auditory digital or auditory tonal. He says to him, we don't need to find out which. He says to himself, I'm sure they don't want to talk to me. And then at the end, he has a bad feeling.
He feels bad.
So you're going to deliberately misunderstand the strategy. Almost like you're Columbo, if you remember Columbo. If you don't remember Columbo, then just be Homer Simpson.
Think, brain, think.
Yes.
Can't.
Think.
Can't.
Yeah. Homer's our hero. So teach me how to do it. So they're teaching you. By the way, that makes them the authority on their problem. Not only now, not only are they we're associated, but now they're the authority. And they're teaching you how to do it, which dissociates them to the max, only you misunderstand it. So it would sound like this. So the client says,
well, I have a picture of people not wanting to talk to me.
now, do you think, and by the way, you misunderstand it in the direction, to the logical extreme, to the direction that will produce the least results for the client in that strategy.
So do you think that if a person has a picture that ultimately makes him feel bad, would be a picture that's small and dark at the end of the room over there on the wall, the size of a postage stamp?
Or
would be a
would
picture
it be
right in his
big
face?
and bright and right in his face?
Probably, most likely, right in his face.
Now look up here for just a second and watch what we do. So I say to the client, so I'm sitting next to the client, Adrian's going to play client here for a moment. So I say, oh, so is the picture, I'm going to do this real slow,
Grab the picture.
small and dark, and on the other side of the room, the size of a postage stamp, see your body in the picture.
That's the misunderstanding. At the same time, take the picture, move it over there.
See what I do with my hand? I'll do it again. Oh, yeah, so what I have to do is I have to have a picture. You mean small and dark on the other side of the room, size of a postage stamp, see your body in the picture. And she
And the
says,
client will say, no,
no.
absolutely not.
And here's a question. It's not on page 34, but I want you to write it there. Write it right in between 4 and 5 on the right-hand side. Here's the question. Well, could it be, comma, this is one of the most fun questions.
Wonderful.
Well, could it be, comma, and still work? Page 34, between 4 and 5. the question, well, could it be and still work? Now listen to how that works. By the way, this is a delightfully fun exercise. It rocks.
So here is the picture
Here's the picture, small
in
and dark.
client's face.
I mean, sorry, big and bright in the
Yeah.
client's face. We don't know it though yet. So we say to the client, oh, so it's small and dark on the other side of the room, size of a postage stamp, see your body in the picture. She says,
No.
no. And you say, well, could it be and still work? What does she have to do?
Try it
She
on.
has to try it on.
So I have to zoom the picture,
Just take the picture and put it over there.
have it over there, which is about 30 meters away?
Which is, what is
case
that
of
in
this room.
feet? 30
30
yards. 100 feet. Yeah, 100 feet.
Yeah, away. Small and dark over there. I have to try it on.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
If I try it on, what did I just do? Exactly. I changed the submodalities
Change the
from where they were
submodalities
into
of the
something
strategy while she's in it. Yeah.
Isn't
By the
that
way,
wonderful?
you must always do this before you do a phobia. Yeah,
Scramble the
always.
strategy.
And any other behavioral thing that's a problem. Yeah. So that now you do it with every step of the strategy. So the client says, no, it couldn't be. So then you say, well, could it be and still work? She says, no, it couldn't. You go, oh, sorry. So let me get this right.
So first, and you repeat.
And you're going to Homer Simpson the hell out of it.
So you say, so first you make a picture that's
Over
small
there,
and dark over there.
small and dark size postage stamp outside the room, see your body in the picture. Is that what you do?
No.
Oh, sorry. Well, I don't think I get it. I don't want to forget to have your problem. This is what you say. I don't want to forget to have your problem. I mean, not that emboldened, embedded. By the way, I've said that to clients. They've never called me on it. They've never said, why did you make your voice lower and louder when you said that? They've never said that. You go, I don't want to forget to have your problem.
Then the next step of the strategy in our example was
Got to
auditory,
talk to
yeah?
myself, yeah?
Was it auditory digital or auditory tonal?
Auditory tonal. I don't think it matters because I did it auditory tonal, so.
Okay.
Yeah, it probably was auditory tonal. So then you say, so okay, what's the next thing? And he says, or she says,
Well, I talk to myself and I say to myself, I don't think that anybody would want to talk to me on the phone.
so this was a guy. So I said to him, is there someone in your life who, when you talk to her or him, you absolutely melt?
It's a person you love, like a parent, like a grandfather, like a spouse,
And he
like
goes-
a brother, somebody very close.
He goes, yes, there certainly is. And I said, so could I say it in that voice?
And he said, no,
No.
it wouldn't work.
And what
And the
what do you
question
say?
is, well,
Well, could it be and still work?
so
What does
the
he have
client
to
has
do?
to try it on.
He has to try it on. And he goes, no, it wouldn't work. And you go, good. So what if it
No,
was?
it wouldn't work.
So what if it was Mickey Mouse's voice? And he goes, tries it on. No.
No, it wouldn't work.
So then, last step, kinesthetic. And so you say to him, so what's the last thing I got to do? I got to have a feeling?
Yeah, it's a bad feeling.
Where's that feeling?
Now, what you will assume, where would that feeling be?
Where do you think that feeling
Somewhere.
is? Somewhere here.
Somewhere in here.
Can you all see that? Somewhere here.
Yeah. Somewhere in there.
Somewhere in the midline.
Maybe
between-
even a bit higher. Could be even up to
Yeah,
here.
yeah, maybe up to the throat.
Maybe
Somewhere
up
up
to
here.
the throat, yeah.
So what do you say? So could I have that feeling in my leg? Running down my leg and dribbling out my toe? Blah, 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 blah. And he goes,
No.
oh. What do you say? Well, could it be and still work? He goes, no, it couldn't be. I said, are you sure? What, maybe it's in my arm, like in my shoulder.
Here it goes. Ooh.
Ooh. You better clean it up. No, I mean, I really do that. Yeah?
You must have you must have fun with this process.
This is a fun
And you must
process.
deliberately push it to the extreme.
To the really ridiculous extreme on the other end, which is where it wouldn't be to produce results. And the client
Absolutely
goes,
wouldn't be
no,
there.
it couldn't be. And then you go back and go, what was your problem? Now you've scrambled the whole strategy. You notice as we demonstrated this, or talked about demonstrating it, we scrambled each step twice. At least twice. So misunderstand it at least twice. Do the Homer Simpson approach. No. I like that. Or the Columbo, if you remember Columbo, he used to go, I'm a
So
little slow.
pretend
Help
to
me out.
misunderstand every step of the way.
And what that'll do is it'll blow the strategy out.
Okay.
So we'd like to do a demonstration, then we're going to do an exercise. So who would like to, who has a behavior that they don't like or a problem that they've got that they'd like to?
They'd like to let go of.
Yes, what's your, so what is it?
I tend to stew over things that I have said or not said when I'm with people. Generally, in a friends environment, more than a therapy session. It's more when I'm out and I'm me.
Oh, when you're you.
Yeah. As opposed to who I am when I'm a coach.
And I just want to check one question with ecology.
Yeah.
So yeah, what's the purpose in stewing over?
The purpose of the stewing is, I think, to rattle myself.
Rattle yourself.
Yeah. Musical instrument.
shake? Do you
Yeah. I was just thinking that too.
So yeah. For what purpose do you do that?
To see what, I think it's about a better result that I could have, or I could be even better within my communications with people. It's just to be better. It's for me to be even better than what I am.
So if we scramble this strategy, would you have another strategy for becoming better and knowing that you're better? Would you have another way of knowing that without,
Or
having
maybe
to
you're
stew
already
over?
better.
I get a sense that without it, it will be really peaceful and calm, and yeah, it's beautiful.
Okay. Okay, give her a hand. Okay,
So what's the problem?
Stewing over things unnecessarily.
good. Staying over things unnecessarily.
And how do you do that?
Yeah.
First, I think about the night's proceedings, and then I think about what I've said or may not have said to certain questions or answers. And then I get curious as to whether I spend enough time finding out information about them, or whether I talked too much about sharing the exciting things that were happening in my life. And then I go, oh my goodness, maybe I didn't share enough, and maybe that's where people, and then it actually goes quite nuts from there.
Do you always do that?
No, I've just noticed it recently. Over the last, there's about 5 examples that come to mind when I think about it. So I would say yes. Have I always done it? I'd probably say yes. And
Well,
now it's consciously.
So
now
it wasn't ever a time when you were with your friends and you talked
no,
to them
Yeah.
That you didn't?
that
Yeah.
you didn't do it.
Yes.
There was a time when you
Yes.
didn't do
Yes.
it. What happened then?
I enjoyed what was going on.
Okay.
I think there's more to it than that.
What is it?
What is it? By the way, if the client ever says that, ask the client, well, so what is it? What is
is
there
it?
more to it?
Perhaps I was open and giving out, and so therefore I wasn't inwardly focused thinking of me.
And that night you didn't stew over it.
Correct.
So is the problem, and by the way, this is just nailing it down to where the problem is or when the problem is. We're still talking about when do you do it, really, aren't we? So is the problem the stewing over it, or the problem is you didn't act the way you wanted to when you're talking to your friends?
I think it's the stewing.
Okay.
So even if you didn't do too much or too little,
If you didn't stew, it would be okay.
Yeah.
as long as you didn't stew, it'd be fine.
Yeah. Because I tried it on and I went,
Good.
no, actually, because I don't even know whether they see anything, or they may just go, well, you're Julesy, we love you. Because that's what they would do, of course.
Because they're your friends.
Because they're friends.
Right, that's why we have friends. That's true.
God bless them.
So how do you know it's time to stew?
Yeah.
That's the question, isn't it?
How do you know it's time?
To stew. Like you're with your friends, you go home. Do you, I mean, the minute you walk out the door, do you start stewing or do you?
Or did it start just before?
Oh, you mean you're putting on your coat or leaving the thing with friends and then you start stewing? Are you stewing right away or do you wait?
It depends. There was one where it happened immediately when I was like, oh no. And then there was another time where I think I waited until I got home.
Huh.
Or at least said goodbye.
Goodbye. Oh my God. They're like that, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, bugger.
So how do you know it's time to stew? Okay.
I don't know, I'm getting a saucepan out and I'm making a stew at the moment. I don't know how it's time to stew.
But I mean,
So are you doing it right now?
Yeah.
you're stewing?
No.
No. Okay.
Could you?
Yeah.
Can you do it now?
Yeah, okay.
You can do it now?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe you didn't say the right thing just one moment before, you know?
Yes.
So you can do it now. Good. So, good. So you can do it now.
Yes. Yes.
And you can do it at will. Great.
Yeah.
That's fabulous, by the way.
Isn't that good?
By the way, if you get the
can
client
do-
to run the behavior, yeah.
Then you have a contrast frame at the end because the client can check and go, can I run the behavior or not?
So help me out with this, yeah? Because we're a little slow, collectively.
Yeah.
How do you know it's time? Like, how do you know?
So
what's-
what happens first? So I mean, you
Yeah, what's the first
get out
thing
the
that
door, and then what do you do first? You say bye-bye, and then
Go
what?
back
Oh
to
my
the last
God, or
time you
what?
stewed. The very last time. The most recent time. So you leave. Are you stewing or no?
Did I say the right thing?
Yeah. What happened? So is that it? Did I say the right thing? Is that a picture, or do you say something to yourself, or
So just before you say the words,
just before you say,
what happens just before you
did
say
I
the
say
words?
the right thing?
Oh, it's feeling.
Is it
It's
feeling
a-
before or after? Did I say the right thing?
Well, I've actually got it right now, which is
Good.
almost a
Up there, huh?
yeah, and in my chest.
Okay.
It's like a vomit type. I want to.
We'll get a barf bag. Just kidding. Keep it to yourself.
Lucky I'm on a swivel chair, huh?
Lucky, yeah. Ooh. So did I say the right thing? So does the feeling come before or after did I say the right thing? I know you have the feeling now, but when you go back to the last time you were, stewing, did you have a picture? Did you say something?
Did you
to yourself?
imagine anything?
I've got
Breathing is good.
It's good to breathe.
I've got monsters coming at me right now.
Monsters? Monsters.
Yeah, you're just going. "Rawr."
Cool.
Did you?
Oh, so it's a picture.
Yeah.
So it's a picture of monsters.
Yeah.
So
Sort of reacting to what I'd said, yet they're all in my imagination.
cool.
Get out.
Good.
Are they-
They'll be out in a moment. Just give them one more moment now. I mean, poor guys.
No, get out. Oh my God.
So you got
I've got
monsters,
Yeah. Yes.
and then you have a feeling,
yes.
and then you say, "Did I say the right thing?"
Yes.
And then what comes after that? Because we'd like to know how you do it, just because we're interested in it. By the way, don't scramble the strategy
Not yet.
until you get the strategy.
I said the comment.
You walk out the door, you see the monsters. They're imaginary monsters. Then you have a feeling. Then you say, did I say the right thing? And then you,
And then it just keeps going
oh, so you
round.
just loop.
Yeah.
Okay, good. So you loop from there. Then you loop back to the monsters and then get the feeling and then did I say the right thing? Yeah?
Is that true?
And then I'll hear different parts of the conversation and think, could I have done something differently in that moment, or did I
Okay.
spend too much? So yeah.
And when you say you hit different parts of the conversation, is that
Is
pictures,
that before you
sounds?
say to yourself, did I say the right thing, or after?
Because we're interested. We just want to know. Yeah.
So what comes first? You review parts of the conversation first, and then you ask yourself, did I say the right thing? Or do you ask yourself first, did I say the right thing, and then you review parts of the conversation?
Review parts.
Review parts first.
Yes.
Before you say, did I say the right
Good.
thing?
Yes.
Perfect.
And that review of parts of the conversation is pictures, sounds, feelings, what? you just had a feeling. You saw the monsters. You had a feeling, negative kinesthetic. And then you review parts of the conversation. Are you reviewing VAK or just, well, it must be visual and auditory, because then you say, did I say the right thing? Or maybe it's just auditory.
Once the feeling's ignited, I think the feeling constantly stays there.
Mm-hmm, good. And then so your review is made up of what? Sounds or just?
Sounds alone or sounds and pictures?
I think it's sounds and pictures.
Sounds
Okay.
and pictures, okay.
Good. Great. Good. And that's how you do it. Cool.
Cool.
Now,
No. Cool is the next part.
yeah, we'd like to ask you for a favor.
Because, they hired us
They-
from a temporary agency.
I mean, your problem was so important, they hired 2 of us.
And they said,
2 monsters.
you have to,
And they
you have to go
We want to make sure we don't forget to do it. We don't want to forget about it.
and become
we don't want
you
to just let it go and have it disappear, because we're
for, a while, so
we're being
for a
hired
day.
temporarily.
And so you don't have to bother with this. Let us bother with this.
Yeah, we'll do
so
it for
we'll
you.
be you, and we have to do your problem.
We got to do
so,
it the right way.
And imagine what would they do to us if we forget to do the problem.
We wouldn't want to forget about it.
I mean, I don't know.
Would we?
I mean, have pity, please.
I wouldn't like you to forget it.
So then, you know what? I know you wouldn't like to forget it, but
No, forget about it.
the thing is that in order for us to be you and not forget to do the problem, you have to teach us how to do the problem.
So can you teach us how to do it?
So what do we do first?
What's the first
So
thing?
here we are. We talk
We're walking
to your
along.
friends.
We're talking to our friends at
And
the
then,
party.
what do we do?
Tra-la, tra-la. Now we go out the door. What's the first thing we have to do?
Make a picture
Okay.
Make a picture.
Of what?
of monsters.
Monsters. Oh. Is that monsters like small and dark and on the other side of the room, side of the postage stamp, see your body in the picture?
No.
You sure?
Positive.
Well,
Could
Says
it
one
be
there,
and
two,
could
one
it be and still work?
but if they're
What if
over
they're
there,
all
yeah,
over there? Yeah.
right at the
Small and dark
back
size
wall,
of postage stamp, see your body in the picture.
could it be and still
Could it
work?
be over there and still work?
Perhaps.
Perhaps. What if they were out the door and down on the street in the rain 2 blocks away?
Oh, cool.
Yeah.
At the pub, drinking VB.
At the pub, yeah. Drinking VB.
No, they're that small now. You understand that they're over there and that small.
And they'll be cheap because
Well,
they won't
nobody
drink a
will
lot of
see
beer.
them.
They'll be very small.
Can't
I
see.
drank a whole-
I mean, they could climb in every glass of beer they find because they're so tiny nobody will see them.
Now, so as you think of it, so could they be that far away and small and still work or no?
No.
No.
You sure?
Yes.
So what do I have to do?
So first
Help
thing,
me out. Help us out again.
so first thing, we make a picture of there's monsters far away in the pub over there across the road, small and dark, climbing in a glass beer.
Yeah?
Right?
Does that work? Mm-hmm. Okay.
Okay, good.
Good. What's the next thing we have to do? We have to get you said we had to get a feeling. Where do we get that feeling? Is it right here in the leg and running down the leg and dribbling out the toe? Like
Oh, no, not the toes. Yeah, no help.
Could it be?
Could it be and still work?
Could it be and still work?
Oh, my poor toes.
Yeah, really, they'd get
Yeah, I
grumpy,
mean,
wouldn't
probably your toes would object, but
they? I mean, and then dropping on the floor.
it's
They clean.
Toes?
No, the feeling.
the feeling.
Good grief, the feeling, not the toes. And they clean up the room. And if the toes went, we'd reattach them. Just screw them back on. Yeah.
So help me out.
Help me out.
First,
We're
first,
kinda
first,
slow.
first.
What's the
That
first-
picture of the monsters over there across the road in the pub, climbing in the glass beer, yeah? And then the feeling dribbling out, going out, dribbling out your toe,
Yeah.
right?
And then what's the next thing we have to do? We have to review the
Oh,
review the talking with
that's
friends.
what.
Talking.
Yeah, we have to
talking.
review that. Do we review that far away and small and dark, like the size of a postage stamp? See your body in the picture across the room?
Or the talking.
With a
And this voice,
Donald
quack,
Duck
quack,
voice?
you know, quack, quack,
Do we do that? Is that what we do?
quack, quack, you know.
Is that what we do? That's not what we do. Oh, okay. Oh, sorry. So wait. I've got to review all this stuff, and I got to review it small and dark on the other side of the room.
Quack, quack.
With the what?
quack.
What'd you say?
Quack, quack,
Speak up.
quack, quack, quack,
Oh,
quack,
oh, okay, I get it. Is that how I would?
quack.
From the back of the room comes a quack. I think that's not all it's quacked
So
up to
that's
be.
over there. That's over there. I mean,
It's all the way over there now.
it's all over there.
And then what do you say to
Look
yourself?
like ducks now.
Then what do you say to yourself? Oh, we have to say to ourselves, did I say the right thing?
Did I say the right thing?
Oh, did I say the right thing?
Yeah,
You think so?
yeah,
I can say something different.
yeah.
Especially
know?
if I'm quacking.
That's how it works.
Yeah.
So I have to say to him, did I say the right thing?
Not yet.
You think so?
I don't think so.
No, not yet. That's how it works?
Does it work that way? Or did I say the right thing? Or
I
is
don't
that the
know
tone of
now.
voice we say it in? Or what if I said it in Goofy's voice?
Oh.
Oh, cool.
Did I say the right thing?
You did
Right.
that very well, you know?
Goofy. Is that going to work?
No.
Oh,
Are you
man.
sure?
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Now, could it be that way and
Could
still
it be that
work?
way and still work?
Yes.
Oh, it could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
Ah, good to know, though. So, what if it was Donald Duck's voice?
More
So-
quacking.
Minnie Mouse.
Did I say the right thing?
We're getting help from the audience now.
Yeah.
We appreciate it, by the way.
Yeah,
Thanks.
yeah.
So try to. Did I say the right thing works? Oh.
Don't like it.
Oh,
Could it be that way and still work?
Still work. What's working?
let's just check and see where we're at, just because we want to just test.
Yeah.
What was the problem?
Yeah, what was the problem?
It was a terrible problem.
It was.
Wasn't it?
It was. Yes, it was.
What was it?
But what
About
was it?
something about saying the wrong thing, the right thing.
That's the right thing, yeah. Now, can you do the problem anymore?
Because, before you could.
Because you were good at this.
Yes.
We asked you to run it. You said, yeah, I can do it right now. And you did. Can you do it again? You might have to really try
Yeah. Okay.
and really try.
If I put a serious face on it, might.
Maybe it'll work. But the only thing you hear is quacking.
My stomach's still churning a little bit.
Yeah? So really try to do it.
Yeah, I'm seeing the saucepan with, with stew as well. Yummy.
Uh-oh. Now what happened? Here you sat up here with Tad and Adriana for 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Your problem disappeared. How's that going to be? What happens if you go to meet some friends in the future? Future pace. What happens if you go to meet some friends in the future and you're at a party?
Yeah, and you say whatever you say, and they say whatever they say.
Because we're all friends here. What if we have a big party?
Tomorrow, my birthday.
Oh, yeah, your birthday tomorrow. Oh, cool.
Good.
So what happens if we have a big
Happy
party?
anticipated birthdays.
Yeah, what happens if we have a big party? You walk away?
Celebrating.
Oh,
Wow.
so celebrating instead of what you were doing
Yeah,
previously.
yeah, yeah.
And then you're done celebrating and you go home.
Yeah, what happens then?
What happened?
From the back of the room, the ducks.
It's another
Are
duck
in
in charge.
What was the problem?
I don't remember. I'm just full of love.
I think we're done. Good job. Give her a hand. Really good. That was great.
Congratulations. Good job, good job.
Brilliant. Yeah, you bet. Absolutely. Good job.